just how constitutional are same-sex marriages. Are you ready for this? Bud Kluik and Dr. Keith Kenner are here. We're going to talk about what it all means and what has happened. And Dr. Kenner, right away here, same-sex marriages, all right, legal now.
Yes.
All right, so
yep.
what is the psychological situation here? Because they've been legal for only a couple of months, but same-sex unions and children being raised by same-sex parents have been around for some time.
Most important point for everybody to understand is that you've got healthy parents. So that's number one. If you've got a couple, whether it's a couple that's a husband and wife or you've got a same-sex couple, the most important thing is that you've got healthy parents for the best interest of the kid. One of the areas that becomes controversial that we've seen come up as some of the opponents and people who have objected to things has been, how do kids in a same-sex marriage, if they're of the opposite sex, gender identify? That's been one of the things that's been coming up. How, for example, if you've got a female couple and they have a son, how do they take on some of the gender roles that would be kind of normal or typical for a boy? And the answer to the question is what we always say about single-parent families, is you don't have to run out and get married again in order to provide that type of influence. Kids are really good at picking up other influences from other people, like teachers or coaches. And so that's the one area that people have kind of said, ooh, you know, if you've got a couple that is of the same sex, how is that child going to learn role identification from the other sex? And that's how it's done. That by
so they need a significant, charismatic adult of the same sex.
Not necessarily charismatic, but you know, you can bring in uncles, you can bring in other family members, you can bring in. You don't have to. For example, it says with single parents, you don't have to run out and get married because your child needs a dad or a mom. Right. And kids are really good at picking up.
Would you get a big brother for a boy if you had, two females?
You could. I mean, it's an option.
That would be one.
And again, it would be the choice of the couple, obviously, to do that. But you know, we want people to be sensitive. You know, the other thing is you're teaching kids about diversity. Which is
gender identification. We now want to get to the legal side of it because now the
complicated
court,
constitutional law.
Prop 22. People said no. Court says unconstitutional. Can't do that.
Right. Well, when you pass a proposition that is when the people vote in a law, they're voting in a law the same way the Assembly does routinely, Joe, and those laws passed by the Assembly cannot be unconstitutional, and the same thing is true for laws passed by the people, like Prop 22. Prop 22 was passed by the people. It said that only marriage between a man and a woman is valid. It was passed in 2002, but the court said it violates equal protection, the Equal Protection Clause of the California Constitution.
Okay, what's equal protection?
Well,
what's that mean?
It means basically, without getting too much into the technicalities of constitutional law, is that similarly situated citizens can't be treated differently by the government. That's essentially what it means. For example, let's say back in the old days of Jim Crow in the South, two people walk up to the counter on Election Day. They want to vote. Two citizens do. The person behind the counter, the election worker, is a member of the government, and they hand out two pieces of paper. One is a ballot, and the other one is a very hard citizenship test. Well, obviously the ballot goes to the white citizen, and the citizenship test goes to the black citizen, which is designed to keep them from voting. Let's move ahead 50 years. Two couples stand at the San Diego County clerk's counter. They both say they want to make permanent and legal their pair bonding, their coupling. They're both handed two pieces of paper. One, to the heterosexual couple, is an application for a marriage license. To the same-sex couple is an application for a registration of domestic partnership.
Okay, I see.
And so they're so similarly situated, are being treated differently by the government, and that's a violation of the Equal Protection Clause, so says the California Supreme Court.
So is the strategy then to change the Constitution?
Well, that's what's pending now, is Proposition 8, which is on the fall ballot, is to amend the California Constitution. And it really, people have to take that very seriously when they're digging into a constitution, because there's a lot of hot button issues, Joe, as you know, being in the media, that come and go. You don't necessarily want to write that into a permanent document. Constitutions are forever. Hot button issues come and go. Right. We tried that once with a hot button issue in the 20th century called prohibition, and that didn't work out very well. They actually wrote that into the Constitution, and that turned out, I think most people looking back on prohibition think it turned out pretty disastrously.
All right, so okay, to be continued.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's a big
we'll
topic.
talk
Big
some
topic.
more. I'd love to talk more about this and some of the other ramifications. I've got some other thoughts on this, but we'll do it next time. You call Garrison Bud Kluick right there, attorney at law. You see the information, and you can always get more information. Watch this again at sandiego6.com.